All right. Hey, Nathan again. I'm going to be doing the opposition final speech, and for a quick off-time roadmap, I'm going to be going proposition, opposition, and then voters. So again, as I said, beginning with the opposition, first of all, you're going to look to the framework issue here. So my opponent's framework of the cost-benefit analysis and my framework of the social contract clash directly. So the cost-benefit analysis, as I've already explained, is saying, hey, we should do what costs the least amount of money and has the greatest benefits. And this is a great system, again, as I said, when you're dealing with something like taxes or a business where you're trying to make a profit. However, as a government, the social contract is going to be the best way to enforce any piece of legislation. It's basically saying, hey, criminals, you violated this contract. You hurt society, and now you're going to be punished for it. Now you're going to be going to prison. That's what the social contract does. It says, again, as I've said before many times, the criminals violated the social contract. Now they have to be punished, and prisons are the only way that we can do this. They have to be punished for what they've done. And again, we can reform this, which brings me to my next argument. So my opponent starts off his speech by saying, I don't mention, or excuse me, not my next argument, but my opponent starts off my speech by saying, I don't mention what rights are being taken away, specifically in my first contention. Now again, my first contention was saying that the social contract justifies prisons. However, I don't need to mention which rights are being taken away because currently they're the same. I'm not really changing any of the rights that are taken away in prison. They're just the same as what are. Other than this attack, he never directly attacks my card. So this leaves my card still standing, saying that the philosophy argument that the social contract justifies prisons, he never directly attacks this, making this a huge voter in the round, which I'll get to later. My opponent's next argument is that prisons are really dehumanizing. Now this argument is pretty good. It should pull on your heartstrings because these criminals are obviously still humans and they deserve their human rights. In most cases. However, as he did not refute my framework or the social contract issue on contention 1, the social contract still stands as the highest framework in the round. So you have to take this as the highest framework, meaning that they violated other people's rights, such as killing them, therefore they have to be punished. Another thing that you're going to have to look to here is my car analogy. So basically what happens here is if your car breaks down on the highway and it's because of a flat tire, you're not going to go buy a new Ferrari. No, you're going to fix the tire. You're going to replace the tire. So what we should be doing is not totally abolishing the system and going with the technology that my opponent provides. What we should be doing is fixing the current system because this is the only way that we're going to uphold the resolution through the social contract. So talking about my contention 2 about the Norway prisons. So this is directly clashing against my opponent's contention 1. And my opponent's contention 1 again talks about how dehumanizing prisons are. So Norway actually has a really humane prison system. They have low recidivism rates, and they have a really good prison system. These criminals still violated something against society, but now we're actually working to make them better. So if we follow the Norway example, then we're going to have actually a really good society, which my opponent totally ignores, making that another voting issue. So moving on to the opposition side of the debate. So my opponent's first argument is that the prisons are dehumanizing and they take away from human rights. However, if you again cross-apply the arguments that I made in my first contention that he never directly refuted, and then the Mississippi prison that he brings up shouldn't really have any influence on the round because if we follow my Norway example, which is what I'm advocating for, you're not going to see any of this in general. And then his final argument is the surveillance issue. So he says, so he never really refutes this. I said, okay, so yeah, this could work for nonviolent prisoners. But for violent prisoners, just giving them a government-issued smartphone and saying, hey, go out into the world, we'll track where you are, that's not going to solve the issue that they're actually solving crimes. So moving on to the basic voters in the round, the first voter is going to be the social contract. So again, these criminals violated the social contract. They violated other people's rights, therefore they have to be punished. This justifies prisons, which is going to be my next voter. So the social contract justifies the prisons. So within this prisons are justified. My opponent never directly attacked the social contract issue, making prisons totally justified and already affirming the resolution. And then just as a few quick points of clarification, using my car analogy and the Norway analogy, we can fix the system. We can make the system so much better instead of totally abolishing it and starting over with something that doesn't work like the technology issue. And then just as a quick point of clarification, the time for my opponent to make new arguments has passed. He can only bring up arguments that he's made in his last speech. So thank you. And I thank my judge and opponent for a great round.